YouTube. I'm sorry I've been away for a couple of weeks. It wasn't what I intended, but basically I had a cold last time I did a video and it wiped me out totally. So I just needed a rest. And also I've been totally busy doing, well, it's been sunny outside, so I've been in the garden through the window and the back garden that's that way. I've been sewing things for a school production, and it was very busy finishing things off for World Book Day. And I have been sewing some curtains for a friend as well. So there's been a lot of sewing going on, but not a lot of videoing going on. But there you go. So I am back to show you the end of making the World Book Day costumes, and then we will be moving on to actual adult selfish sewing for me in a few videos time. So I'm hoping in the next few days I will get 3 videos up probably of the various things from World Book Day rather than one massive video. And here's the first one. This is all about Felix's Yoda costume. So if you've watched previous videos, you will know that's what I was working on. And here is what we did. So I've got it written down here to remind me what we did, because it's nearly 2 weeks ago now. So it's a little while ago, but I thought it was worth sharing. So I'm going to show you how we made it. Basically there were 4 elements to the costume. There is a cloak, there were some dungarees, some ears, because Yoda's got very special ears, and a lightsaber. 2 of them were bought because, well, actually we had them already. We had a cloak and we had a lightsaber. So luckily didn't have to make a lightsaber or a cloak. But so this mainly is showing you how I made the dungarees. And there is a separate video about all the different props that I did for World Book Day, because they weren't actually sewing things. Most of them were kind of gluing, sticking, painting, that kind of thing. So I bunched them in a different video that will be up in a day or so as well. So here we go, dungarees. I had a dungarees pattern from when Felix was a toddler, but the maximum age on it was 4 years old, I think, and I measured his body and it seemed to me that I needed to lengthen it. So you'll be seeing now how I lengthen the pattern. Basically nearly all patterns have a lengthen or shorten heel line on it. I added a lot because I was making it much bigger for him. When I'm making costumes I'm not that bothered about fit. I'm bothered enough that I don't get complained at by the wearer, but I'm not bothered to make it perfect, and certainly not enough to buy a new pattern if I can get away without doing it. Next thing was that I made it up. I didn't make a 12 for this because again, not particularly going for high production values, going for good looks but not massive fit. So I made it up. The fabric I'm using is some upholstery fabric. It's kind of a moleskin. I bought it years ago to make something for, make a footstool I think it was. And we've moved house since then. I've got a different colour scheme, but I had cut it out, as you do. So I cut it out, I don't know, 7 years ago, into various square shapes. So when I came to make up, I had to piece them together so that you'll see throughout looking at the close-ups of the costume that there are random seam lines that you wouldn't choose to put in, but that was because basically I was patchworking the fabric together. So I made it up. At the first fitting I did with Felix, he was way too squirmy. I didn't film it. I had approximately 10 seconds of stillness, and then had to quickly pin it, and then he was like, "Oh mommy, I want to go do something else," so he ran away. So that's why he's not in it in the first fitting. But I'll be showing you how I folded up the length because it was way too long in the legs, and I've pinched out at the chest, pinched out length as well. So obviously when I lengthened the pattern, I way overdid it. My measurements were right, my maths was right, but the pattern clearly was different. And actually on reflection, what it was that I did that was wrong was that I hadn't realised that what I wanted to make was a dungarees, actually more of a jumpsuit, so it came all the way up to collar height, whereas of course I was copying a dungarees pattern, and that on the pictures of the pattern I was copying had really long straps, and kind of came to almost nipple height was where it came to. So of course I lengthened the body, and that's not what I didn't need to do it, but it was fine. Like I said, I already had loads of random seam lines, so I just pinched out what I needed to in the first fitting. So the next part you will see is Felix wearing it after I fitted a zip at the front. So I've learned from experience that if you're making a Halloween costume and you're going to be with the child when they wear it, when they're young, you can get away with different things than if they have to go off into the world by themselves to school and manage with the costume. And mainly what I'm thinking about here is access to go to the toilet. I have made this mistake, and teachers will not thank you for making a costume difficult to get on and off. So I put a zip at the front so he can basically zip it down, take it off, do his thing, and put it back up again all by himself. He's very good at getting dressed and undressed, but if you put someone in something super complicated, if they're my child, they're much more likely to cross their legs and cross their legs and cross their legs, and then bad things happen. So just think about that. If you're making a costume, how are they going to manage on their own without assistance to get in and out of it when they need to? I was also sorting out the straps. We had a very interesting conversation about how does Yoda go to the toilet while I was fitting him in this part of the video. Yeah, I discovered things that I'd never considered about Yoda before, but there you go. So then I was also pinning the length of the straps in this video because, as I said, the pattern that I'd cut from had really long straps, and that wasn't how I was making the jumpsuit. It was more of a jumpsuit style. And at this stage I also changed the length of the legs. And then finally you will see now the finished dungarees, and he's wearing his beautiful ears. So you can see that there is a zip at the front, as I've mentioned, and I quite like this fabric because of the stiffness of it being upholstery fabric. I felt like it worked really well. In the costumes, Yoda kind of wears like a really homespun Hessian natural fabric, which you can see why they would choose that for his character. And so it's quite stiff and quite bulky and quite blocky, and so I was quite pleased with the fact that I could use fabric from my stash, but it was a really good effect. So there you go, I quite like that. And then finally, the most important thing, here is some footage of Felix, or should I say Yoda, with his lightsaber and his cloak and the full marvellous effect. And that is it. So that was the Yoda costume. I hope you enjoyed, and as I say, there will be 2 other videos coming up in the next few days because the video footage is all taken. I just need to edit it all together, of other things that we did for World Book Day. So thank you very much for being there, and I will see you again very soon. Bye bye.